President of Venezuela, Nicolás Maduro, announced the development of a joint productive project with the Landless Movement of Brazil, the MST, called the Patria Grande del Sur project. In Mexico, Hurricane John, now a Category 2 storm, continues to affect the coast of the state of Guerrero in the southwest of the country. And ahead of the UN General Assembly, world leaders call for a de-escalation of the armed conflicts in the Middle East. Hello and welcome to From the South. My name is Venezuelan Santos. I'm from the teleSUR studios in Havana, Cuba. We begin with the news. The President of Venezuela, Nicolás Maduro, announced the development of a joint productive project with the Landless Movement of Brazil called the Patria Grande del Sur project. During his program, Con Maduro Mas, the head of state, informed that the project with the MST has a scheme that seeks to preserve the land and educate farmers and new work methods to boost the economy of both nations. For his part, the leader of the Landless Movement, João Pedro Stedile, explained that this project seeks to produce food by growing fruitful plants and raising animals. In turn, Stedile explained that the project also seeks to build 2 factories with Chinese technology, one for biofertilizers and the other for organic fertilizers. Finally, the Venezuelan head of state pointed out that this project is adjusted to the 21st century and is born with great strength.
A productive project is being born, which is truly adjusted to the times of the 21st century, and is born with a fabulous force, which has an experience of more than 40 years. An agro-productive experience, with a scheme that preserves the land and educates the farm worker, the Landless Movement. We have decided to move forward with a project of great importance, which will be called the Southern Patria Grande project. And here is João Pedro Stedile and the Landless Movement. João Pedro, we can tell the people about this project. Welcome.
And in this sense, the leader of the Landless Movement, the MST, João Pedro Stedile, explained that part of the project consists of food production and animal breeding for food security in the region, mainly in the state of Bolívar.
We come here to share, to learn and to work together, which is why it is important for us to involve Venezuelan farmers in their forms of organization, such as the communes, in all the processes, and from there we are planning some work fronts. The first, which is the priority, is in the state of Bolívar, where we are going to develop a project, which we call agroforestry and pastoral from a productive point of view, in this project in the same area, which they are going to share with us. Of this territory of almost 10,000 hectares, we can plant local trees to protect nature, fruit trees to produce food, be it cocoa, banana, etc., and also have food such as yucca, corn, and animals.
And following the arrest warrant issued by the Supreme Court of Justice of Venezuela against the President of Argentina, Javier Milei, and 2 other high-ranking officials for the theft of the Interpol plane at the beginning of this year, the public ministry will request Interpol to activate the red notice. A report with correspondent Madeleine Garcia.
The maximum judicial entity of Venezuela has pronounced and complied with the public ministry's request to order the arrest of Argentina's President Javier Milei, his sister Karina Milei, and his security minister Patricia Bullrich. Other actions follow.
The Public Prosecutor Office will proceed to place the arrest warrant request in CIPOL and inform the Interpol so that the respective red notice can be issued. There are the steps to come, which will set a precedent in the region because no one can be above the sovereignty of a country in the sense of stealing assets, and this will go unpunished.
These were the last images of the TeleSUR plane at Ezeiza Airport in Argentina before it was stolen by the United States in an act denounced by the government of Venezuela as piracy, which has been condemned and denounced in all spaces.
This sets a very interesting precedent, and it is that an act of international piracy will not be validated. Even if the person committed this act is a maximum authority of a country, this not give you immunity to still hijack to flag an airplane outside the station of the World Air Navigation Organization. I do not know how far this will go. It will depend a little on the proposal made by the prosecutor office. We are going to see if there is any intention of the Venezuelan government to advance some kind of international tribunal. But if can file a series of appeals by the Venezuelan prosecutor office in different areas where disputes are settled at the international level, that may cause a lot of discomfort to the Argentinian government, in which case it deserves it.
The plane was hijacked in Argentina with the 17 crew members among them, 5 Iranian instructors alleging that the aircraft, destined to transport cargo and humanitarian aid, was being used for alleged terrorism and drug trafficking. It was a file set up by the United States to execute its illegal sanctions against Venezuela in violation of international law. The story concluded with the release of the crew members when it was demonstrated that there was no link to anything. With the theft of the airplane, which was transported by falsifying the route, the civil aeronautics regulations were seriously violated, and then, when it landed in U.S. territory, it was dismantled.
Madeline Garcia, teleSUR, Caracas, Venezuela.
We now move on to other topics. Amid accusations of lack of transparency, the Legislative Assembly of El Salvador elected on Monday the new magistrates of the Supreme Court of Justice. The assembly, made up of 60 legislators, of which 57 are from the official party and only 3 from the opposition, endorsed the proposal of the New Ideas Party, which gave way to the new body. With 57 favorable votes, the new magistrates were appointed for the period that will end on September 23rd, 2033. Despite the protest of the opposition legislators who denounced serious flaws in the process, Deputy Ernesto Castro, President of the Assembly, confirmed the integration of the highest judicial body of the country. And now let's take a short break, but remember you can join us on TikTok at teleSUR English, where you will find news in different formats, news updates, and much more. We'll be right back. Stay with us. Welcome back. In Mexico, Hurricane John, now a Category 2 storm, continues to affect the coast of the state of Guerrero in the southwest of the country. According to information provided by the National Water Commission, Conagua, at 9:15 p.m. local time, the eye of the storm made landfall southwest of Marquelia. According to the National Meteorological Service, the hurricane's wide circulation will generate intense to extraordinary rains, very strong winds, and high waves. The National Coordinator of Civil Protection, Laura Velázquez, recommended that people leave risk areas and use the shelters provided by the regional government. And in other news, another chapter opens around the Israeli spy software Pegasus. A recent investigation carried out in Colombia details that this program was also used to monitor governments such as those of Mexico and Venezuela. In view of this evidence, the Colombian Congress is requesting a regional security summit to address this issue. Let's see.
El presidente de la Comisión
The
Legal
president of the Legal Commission for Monitoring Intelligence and Counterintelligence Activities of the Colombian Congress, Senator Antonio Correa, said in a recent interview that the Pegasus spyware would have been used not only against Colombian political and social leaders, such as the now President Petro, but also against the governments of Mexico and Venezuela.
Hemos solicitado amnistía internacional.
We have asked Amnesty International to tell us what affectation in fundamental rights, and in our country, they have provoked in addition to the violation of Article 28 of the Colombian Constitution.
¿Para cuándo usted está formulando un nuevo debate? Aspiramos y esperamos de que de este miércoles en 8 estemos en el nuevo.
We hope and expect that this Wednesday 8th we will be in a new debate with questionnaires, but it is very important that the countries that have been victims of this spyware make an urgent intelligence meeting of the affected countries, an urgent summit because this can directly affect national security.
Una cumbre. Urgente.
El presidente Gustavo Petro
President Petro revealed that during the presidential term of Ivan Duque, the Pegasus program was acquired with resources from drug trafficking for a value of $11 million, and that in the midst of the social unrest in Colombia it would have been used to follow political opponents, social leaders and human rights defenders.
Muy seguramente se utilizaron esos recursos para espiar.
Very surely these resources were used to spy on nearby governments, which have been irresponsibly seen as enemies by other governments such as that of former President Ivan Duque, so it is very dangerous and generates distrust in the region that Pegasus has been used very surely not only to spy on Colombians themselves, but also on neighboring governments.
Colombianos, peligroso a la oposición, sino también a gobiernos vecinos.
Para algunos analistas, los más recientes
For some analysts, the most recent data on the use of Pegasus during the Duque administration to spy even on governments in the region highlights the efforts of conservative sectors in the continent to undermine alternative and sovereign political projects.
It is very worrying to know that, for example, governments such as our former government participated precisely in these technological developments, or at least almost obediently accepted and allowed us to be used to spy on our neighboring governments and overthrow them. The summit on security that is being planned in the particular case of Venezuela and Mexico is not only a summit of goodwill, it is a summit of denunciation. It is a summit in which we invite all the countries of the world to be alert to what is happening here in America and what is surely happening in other corners of the planet.
Para los próximos días,
A political control debate was announced for the next few days in the Congress so that the intelligence agencies and the Ministry of Defense, as well as the Israeli foreign minister, can respond to these new allegations.
Hernán Darío Tobar Gaitán, teleSUR, Bogotá, Colombia.
We continue now with other topics. Tens of thousands of people in southern Lebanon are fleeing towards Beirut as Israeli airstrikes have resulted in nearly 500 fatalities, including 35 children, making the deadliest day of cross-border violence. The strikes, which began early Monday, targeted over 1,600 Hezbollah sites and were part of Operation Northern Arrows, aimed at neutralizing Hezbollah's military capabilities. Lebanon's health ministry reported significant casualties, with at least 58 women among the dead. The violence has led to widespread destruction and displacement, with many families forced to evacuate their homes. Eyewitness accounts describe a grim reality of continuous bombardment as residents express their fears and frustrations. And we have a second short break coming up, but before we invite you to visit our YouTube channel at teleSUR English. There you will be able to rewatch your interviews, top stories, special broadcastings, and more. Hit the subscribe button and activate the notification bell to stay up to date on the world's most recent events. Final short break, don't go away. Welcome back from the South. Nations of the world participate in the Summit of the Future for a Reform of Global Governance. The event aims to engage national and international leaders with 60 actions in 5 key areas: business security, sustainable development and financing, science, technology and innovation, youth and future generations, and the transformation of global governance. In previous speeches, Cuban Foreign Minister Bruno Rodriguez Parrilla called for greater political will to review significant structural and moral failures of the international system. Meanwhile, UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres, during his speech, called for the rescue of multilateralism.
We are here to bring multilateralism back from the brink. I called for this summit to consider deep reforms to make global institutions more legitimate, fair and effective, based on the values of the UN Charter. I called for this summit because 21st century challenges require 21st century solutions, frameworks that are networked and inclusive, and that draw on the expertise of all of humanity. I called for this summit because our world is heading off the rails, and we need tough decisions to get back on track.
France has called for an emergency UN Security Council meeting to address the escalating violence in Lebanon following a major Israeli cross-border attack. French Foreign Minister Jean-Noël Barrot urged all parties to avoid a devastating regional conflict.
France once again calls on the parties and their supporters to de-escalate and avoid a regional conflagration that would be devastating for everyone, starting with the civilian population. This is why I have requested that an emergency meeting of the Security Council be held on Lebanon this week. In Lebanon, as elsewhere, France will remain fully mobilized to resolve the major crises fracturing the international order. It will take initiatives.
And also, Australia is spearheading a new initiative at the UN aimed at enhancing the protection of humanitarian workers in conflict zones. Australian Foreign Minister's proposal includes a global declaration reaffirming existing humanitarian laws and outlining practical measures to safeguard aid personnel.
Statements on this, we are deeply concerned, we're alarmed by the escalation and the loss of civilian life, both in Lebanon and also the attacks into Israel. We have consistently said we wish to see de-escalation. We believe a wider regional conflict is not in the interests of any of the peoples of the region. This evening, ministers have agreed to a formation of a ministerial group for the protection of humanitarian personnel, dedicated to upholding and championing international humanitarian law and driving action to protect aid workers in conflict zones. Regrettably, 2023 was the deadliest year on record for aid workers, more than 280 who were killed. But 2024 is on track to be the worst.
Also in this context, addressing the UN Summit of the Future, Iranian President Masoud Pezeshkian urged to end the conflict in Gaza.
In a world where civilians are being brutally killed in Gaza, blind state terrorism kills children and women, and genocide and terror are supported, no document will guarantee peace and development. The end of the occupation, the end of apartheid in Palestine, and the immediate ceasefire in Gaza are prerequisites for development and world peace. We demand immediate reforms in the structure of governance and the structure of international financial institutions in order to guarantee the presence of developing countries in decision-making and standardization and the formation of a fair and responsive structure to meet the financial needs of these countries.
And Mohammad Mustafa, the Prime Minister of the Palestinian Authority, denounced Israel's genocidal war and illegal occupation and aggressions in the Gaza Strip and the West Bank ahead of the UN General Assembly.
For you, our people in Gaza are enduring one of the darkest chapters in modern history. For nearly a year now, Israel's genocidal war has caused unprecedented loss and suffering and humanitarian catastrophe. At the same time, our people in the West Bank, including East Jerusalem, continue to face systemic threats driven by the remarkable resilience of our people, even in the face of ongoing atrocities, renews our confidence that they will heal and rise from this tragedy. Palestine has demonstrated social resilience at the national level, with our commitment standing strong in unity and perseverance. It's now our collective duty to stop the aggression.
In Qatar, the exhibition Echo of the Lost Innocence commemorates the thousands of children that were killed in the Gaza Strip. The installation used more than 15,000 teddy bears to commemorate the children lost in Israel's military offensive against Palestine since the war began nearly a year ago. The bears wear black t-shirts that read, "I am not a number, I am a person with an identity, with a homeland, I am Palestine." Bashir Mohammad, creator of the installation Echo of the Lost Innocence, says that the idea for the installation came when he saw a photograph of a girl in Gaza who had lost her family and was holding a teddy bear. The sculptures will be sold, and 100% of the proceedings will be donated to the children in Gaza.
Echo of Lost Innocence is art installation that consists of 15,000 sculptures. These sculptures are simply the reflection of the screams and the cries of the children who got killed in Gaza since October 7, 2023, that they are not just numbers. They are humans who have identities, who have a whole homeland called Palestine.
And like this, we have come to the end of this news brief. You can find these and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. And also join us on social media. We are on Facebook, X, Instagram, Telegram, and also on TikTok. For TeleSUR English, my name is Belén de los Santos. Thank you for watching.